It was produced through a partnership between the pharmaceutical company GlaxoSmithKline and the nonprofit Path Malaria Vaccine Initiative, and it took 3 decades to develop because the malaria parasite is so complex. Through pilot programs, the vaccine has already been given to millions of children in Africa, and while it appears to only reduce hospitalization for severe malaria by about 30%, World Health officials say they still think it could be a game changer against a disease that currently kills about 500,000 young children a year in Africa alone. And we guys at NPR News. The Palestinian Health Ministry says Gaza is experiencing an outbreak of hepatitis A, reporting thousands of cases. The virus has spread through contaminated food Gaza, their homes, and into overcrowded shelters. The disease can spread faster. UN aid agencies warn Gaza could see more people dying from diseases than Israeli tanks. Meantime, the Israeli army is reporting that 3 of its soldiers were killed today in southern Gaza, where they are battling the militant group Hamas. I'm Amy Held in Washington, and this is NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Subaru, featuring the 2024 Subaru Forester Wilderness, with 9.2 inches of ground clearance and all-terrain tires for off-road capability. Learn more at Subaru.com/wilderness.
From NPR and WBUR, I'm Scott Tong in Washington, D.C.
I'm Robin Young in Boston. It's here now. Former President, now candidate Trump, won't be in a New York City courtroom today because the trial over damages he might have to pay in the defamation case brought by writer E. Jean Carroll has been postponed when his lawyer is sick. And his reigning Republican presidential rival, Nikki Haley, is asking voters this question after Ron DeSantis dropped out of the race yesterday. This comes down to, what do you want? Do you want this, or do you want something new? Well, Haley has been arguing that Trump is losing mental sharpness. On Friday, he appeared to confuse her with former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Trump says he aces cognitive tests. Voters will decide. They'll register their thoughts tomorrow in the first in the nation New Hampshire primary. So let's check in. Brian is retired military, a retired lineman from Seabrook, New Hampshire. He doesn't want his last name used. He's concerned about harassment. Brian, understandable. This is a pretty contentious time, but you have been leaning toward Ron DeSantis. So how do you feel about his dropping out?
I'm somewhat dismayed that he dropped out, but if the numbers weren't there for him to make it work, I can understand why.
Yeah, and just what did you like about him as he exits the stage? Yeah.
I like his policies. Number one was securing that southern border. His policies are very similar to Donald Trump's, but without all the sideshows that come with Donald Trump.
Well, explain to people in other parts of the country who are hearing you, why would somebody in New Hampshire be worried about the southern border?
Well, I was actually on the southern border in 2007 with the military, and witnessed firsthand, and it was a bit back then, but now it's much worse.
Of course, someone point out that the border's been a problem for years now, but you told us last week you were also eyeing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now he's become the black sheep of that storied Democratic Kennedy family because of his anti-vax stance, other conspiracy theories that he espouses. But you're not the only one. I mean, he's caught a lot of eyes in New Hampshire. Why for you?
Well, I don't believe he's anti-vax. He's anti-forced mandate vaccinations. If people want to get vaccinated, fine. If they don't want to, they should not force it.
And what else do you like about him?
Well, I like the fact that he has said that the southern border is a problem and it needs to be addressed.
So is he going to get your vote?
Well, for the primary, I'm leaning towards Donald Trump, but if he remains in the general election as an independent, three candidates, I'm hoping he draws from independents and moderate Republicans and moderate Democrats. I would love to be an independent candidate in the White House.
Why not Trump?
I do like his policies. I'm not going to lie. I think what he did while he was in the White House was good for the economy, good for America, but he's a bombastic, divisive figure.
Brian, again, ahead of tomorrow's primary in New Hampshire. Thank you so much for weighing in with us.
Thank you.
Well, let's turn now to Chet Homer. He's a retired small business owner in New Hampshire. And Chet, you've told us you support Nikki Haley. Still?
Absolutely.
Why?
I just think that it's time to get away from the extremes of both sides and to return to a more respectful dialogue between the parties.
Well, that would answer why you choose a Nikki Haley over Donald Trump, which is the position you're in right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
I also think that we're due for a generational change,
Well, for instance, there was that exchange over the weekend where President Trump, in speaking at a rally, seemed to confuse Nikki Haley with Nancy Pelosi. That's happened before. And Nikki Haley, seized on that, to show that he had some cognitive issues. You agree with that, thinking that there should be some sort of a mental test of candidates?
I'm not going there. I'm a simple person. I think we need a change of leadership. We need to bring back civility and respect back to the office of the President of the United States of America.
That's,
And who can bring folks together? It's tit for tat. Sorry.
yeah, I hear you. And yet many would say that Nikki Haley isn't exactly a moderate. She's very conservative. But what I think I hear you say is that in just her presentation, the civility is big for you.
Yes.
What about some of her policies?
I think the ball is on all the Republican candidates is pretty simple. The border is a mess. Our military is falling behind. Our deficits are a joke, which is it's not going to affect my generation, but it's going to affect my grandkids.
Look, we're hearing you clearly, not just about Nikki Haley, but about Donald Trump. And so I ask you, reports out today show consumer confidence is really shooting up. The stock market has been doing well. The Biden administration can point to some good news in the economy. You're a retired small business owner. Any chance, with the way you feel about Donald Trump, that if he and Biden are the candidates, any chance you would vote for Biden?
Absolutely not. Talk about mental capacity issues. Sorry.
So you're voting for someone you don't like.
No, I didn't say it didn't. I think time for a more respectful dialogue and not the extreme. And I don't take Nikki Haley as extreme as Donald Trump.
But you still vote for him.
It's not clear. New Hampshire's full of independents, remember?
Right. Are you hoping a third candidate surfaces?
Whoever that might be, I think they might get a little more support from people think.
Yeah.
Could be Joe Manchin. I kind of like Joe Manchin too.
Yeah. He's the Democrat who's voted with the no labels ticket. So.
Right.
Wait, Chet Homer, a retired small business owner in New Hampshire, giving us his insights from that front line there. Chet, thank you so much.
Pleasure to talk to you, Rob. It was fun.
Well, now let's go to Leah Volchko. She's a former public school teacher from Manchester, New Hampshire, an independent, but she plans to vote for Donald Trump. And Leah, you told us you really wanted to vote for Robert F. Kennedy, but Trump you think will win.
Yeah, I was registered Republican and we changed to independent specifically so we could pull the Democrat ticket and vote for Kennedy. I never had any illusions that he could win, really. I just wanted to see him elevated to a level that issues could be discussed that are important that he dares to talk about.
And just briefly, because you're not the only one who's been eyeing Robert F. Kennedy Jr., what issues did you want him to elevate?
I wanted him to talk about the war machine. I wanted him to talk about the fact that we have this pharmaceutical industrial complex that has literally captured regulatory agencies that are supposed to be there to protect us.
Well, pulling the lever now for Trump, and I'm just wondering about a couple of recent things he's said. Just get your thoughts on them. Were you at all concerned this weekend, for instance, when he suddenly out of the blue praised Viktor Orban, who's the autocratic leader of Hungary? He's seen by just about all of Europe as backsliding on democracy, an autocrat. People are concerned that Donald Trump wants to elevate the power of the presidency. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have no fear of that whatsoever. What the power of the presidency has been so elevated and corrupted already for many cycles in a row. I mean, they just roll into war now without even asking, without even bringing it to the Congress in any way, shape, or form. That is a king. That's not a president. We already have autocratic rule. We live under a fascistic government already. And I prefer my tyranny up front. I prefer to be able to see clearly that there's a danger and that then we can steel ourselves against it as people.
Well, that is fascinating, and as you well know, there are people hearing you who are saying, wait a second, you're describing Donald Trump, who makes fascist moves like trying to, ginning up overturning an election.
Yeah, I never really looked into any of the actual allegations. I never looked into any proof. But what I have seen since then is 4 long years of a fascistic justice system. Even people that weren't even there are being arrested. These knocks in the night, 3 years after you were at some political rally that went sideways, and they destroy your life and they throw you in a hole and they don't give you a trial. We need to all be aware that this is what's happening.
Well, Leah, as you know, there have been hundreds of people arrested for Jan 6 and convicted, and many have pled guilty. I don't think there are people sitting in jails after a knock in the night who weren't even there. But let's move on to, since you are behind Trump, it seems like your big concern is the wars being supported. And one's in Ukraine, one's in Israel and the Middle East. Do you expect that Donald Trump, as president, would not support either?
I think that he could probably get people around the table to bring into an call him a con man, and maybe he is good at conning people into believing things, that he has these sort of abilities and powers, but it doesn't really matter. If people believe he can do it, then he can do it. The fact is, these things weren't happening when he was president. Is it possible that he could get them to stop now? I think he probably could. We certainly can't stay with the people in the party that are in power now. And we can't go with a candidate who will continue to stoke the fires, which is Nikki Haley. So that's out. And Ron DeSantis is gone. So we're really only left with one option.
Leah Moscow, a former public school teacher from Manchester, New Hampshire, and as we heard, a strong Donald Trump supporter. Leah, thank you so much for sharing your thinking with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're listening to all Republican voters as we head into
Bus terminals around the country are being sold off and shuttered. Remote into the bus passengers that all no place to eat, shelter. I'm Ari Shapiro. That story I'm often considered from NPR.
Hey parents, in case you missed it, small exchanges add up when it comes to healthy communication with your teen. You can make a difference by creating a culture of understanding, empathy, and support for Alaska teens as they handle daily challenges, manage emotions, and peer pressure to engage in unhealthy behavior like using alcohol or other substances. Learn more about healthy communication with your teen at icymi-ak.org.
A healthcare force psychologist, Gloria Marr, to take a closer look at how she was using her digital devices.
I realize that so many of the things we do are unconscious. So I see my phone next to me, and I have this automatic reaction to grab it and swipe it open.
Building a healthier relationship with technology, this week on Hidden Brain from NPR.
Saturday afternoon at 3. Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston and BetterHelp, committed to supporting mental health through therapy. Clients are matched with one of 25,000 therapists and can communicate via video, chat, or phone at betterhelp.com/public. It's Here and Now. Maybe you've been thinking of an all-electric vehicle, but you're worried that maybe there aren't enough charging stations yet for long drives. Well, a couple who just made one found the network is pretty good. Needs improvement, but it's there, and they should know. Last year, Chris and Julie Ramsey took an epic drive from the North Pole through the U.S. down to the South Pole in an electric Nissan Ariya SUV.
We are starting in the Arctic, traveling through Canada, North America, the full Central America, and into South America and Antarctica. It's never been attempted by a combustion engine vehicle, so doing it in an electric vehicle is obviously the first, but it's the first vehicle in history.
They drove through blizzards, extreme cold, heat, rocky roads, EV charging deserts, no charging for miles, and sometimes charged in the homes of strangers. They had a support group part of the way from Arctic Trucks, which organizes charge using a gas-powered generator. But after 10 months, they did it. They're now back at home in Aberdeen, Scotland. They join us now. Chris Ramsey, you there? Thanks for welcome to us. Start. No stranger. Argentina, find it down in Antarctica. But the biggest question I know people have, how do you charge? And they don't
I check my credit card activated with your statement to register and then press start. And we will set the charge of card.
Their hearts are thumping. Like, what do see that they could not Ted don't prove that the network is good.
So the reason why that European automatic car to the US. For example,
As when also mentioned that some charges were often there but didn't work. And so you alerted companies of that. Essentially, if you were wrong, the problem ends away. And also, you said, ways is important. So,
it's a good point. So, well, the benefit getting this thing, so the other people that have is a big part of our cost. Always.
you said that this happens this is how you translate those and so people should put
Definitely.
So this wasn't just a drive. This was a road promotion. Advantages and just how you can perform with people's conditions. Chris, you said you hope this would be an inspirational model for people looking to buy electric vehicles. What would your advice be for those who maybe just want to drive cross country? Those who
Don't let anyone see road trip. People would always plan where the fuel station is. And it's no different with fuel indicator. There's an app out there called PlugShare. Go on today, find your routes, type in your start point and point, and it gives you the charge location. So it's just a case of a simple bit of planning before you go, and then you can just head off and do a normal road trip. Like every road trip, you're planning your breakfast stop, or your lunch stop, or a very rest break, and it's exactly the same thing. The only difference is you charge your car while you're in your rest stop.
Chris and Julie Ramsey from Aberdeen, Scotland, who made an extraordinary trip from the north down to the pole. Thank you so much for talking to us about it. It's been fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us on. Yeah. Okay, it's January 22. How was your 2024 resolution going? 3 weeks in? Not easy, right?